Episode 1 introduces us to the Shelby family, a Romani English clan who control organized crime in the small Heath district of Birmingham through their gang, the Peaky Blinders. At the center is Thomas Shelby, a war veteran turned criminal mastermind. The episode weaves together several threads, a mysterious shipment of stolen weapons that ends up in Thomas's possession, the arrival of a dangerous police inspector sent from Belfast, the introduction of a new barmaid with secrets of her own, and the everyday business of a family that survives by controlling the betting shops, the pubs, and the streets around them. It is a slow-burning, atmospheric setup episode that plants seeds which grow across the entire series. The episode opens with one of the most iconic entrances in British television. A lone rider on a black horse moves through the smoky, industrial streets of Small Heath. Workers and residents fall silent and step aside as he passes. This is Thomas Shelby. The scene is deliberately theatrical, establishing him not just as a man, but as a kind of local legend, someone whose mere presence commands fear and respect. The horse itself will matter later in the episode, so pay attention to it. We're shown the physical world of Small Heath, rows of terraced houses, factory chimneys, betting shops, and the ever-present grime of an industrial city recovering from war. This setting is not just backdrop, it is a character in itself, a battered post-war landscape where crime has become one of the few viable paths to power. We are introduced to the Shelby household gradually. Thomas Shelby, often called Tommy, is the second oldest brother, a decorated but deeply traumatized veteran of the First World War who served as a tunneler, digging beneath enemy lines. Though his older brother Arthur is nominally the head of the family business, it quickly becomes clear that Thomas is the true strategist and leader. Arthur Shelby, the eldest brother, is volatile, proud, and quick to violence. He craves his father's old position of authority, but lacks Thomas's patience and calculation. John Shelby, another brother, is more easygoing, family-oriented, and loyal, functioning as reliable muscle within the gang. Finn Shelby is the youngest sibling, still a boy, eager to be included in the family's world of crime and danger, which worries the older family members. Ada Shelby, the only Shelby sister in this generation, is intelligent and independent-minded, chafing against the control her brothers try to exert over her life. She is secretly involved with Freddie Thorne, a childhood friend of the Shelby brothers who has become a committed communist and labor organizer. This relationship is a source of tension, since the Shelby brothers strongly disapprove of both Freddie's politics and his romantic involvement with their sister. Polly Gray is the family's aunt and matriarch, and in many ways its emotional and business backbone. She manages the betting shop operations and finances while the men handle the street-level enforcement. Polly is sharp, protective, and carries her own private grief, having lost her children to the authorities years earlier under painful circumstances that the show gradually reveals over its run. The episode carefully establishes how the gang actually operates. The Peaky Blinders control illegal betting in Small Heath, taking a cut from bookmakers and enforcing their territory with intimidation and violence when necessary. Their name comes from the razor blades reportedly sewn into the peaks of their flat caps, weapons that could slash an opponent's face in a street fight. We see the day-to-day mechanics of this world. Bookmakers reporting to Polly, the family collecting money, and the constant undercurrent of tension with rival gangs who want a piece of the same territory. This sets up the larger gang politics that will define much of the season, particularly the looming presence of Billy Kimber, a powerful rival racing gang boss from London who currently controls the legal racetrack, circuits that the Shelbys want access to. The central plot engine of the episode begins when Thomas discovers that a shipment of rifles and ammunition, stolen from the real-world BSA factory Birmingham Small Arms Company, has somehow ended up hidden inside a horse crate that was delivered to him, seemingly by mistake or through a corrupted supply chain. These weapons were originally meant for shipment overseas, and their theft has triggered serious concern at the highest levels of government, since there are fears they could end up in the hands of the Irish Republican Army during a period of intense political unrest. Thomas is not the one who stole the guns. He has effectively inherited an extremely dangerous and valuable problem without knowing it at first. As he inspects the crates, the audience senses immediately that this discovery is bigger than a simple gang score. It has political implications far beyond small Heath. Though the full picture is deliberately withheld from both Thomas and the viewer in this first episode. Parallel to this, we meet Chief Inspector Chester Campbell, a stern, ideologically rigid police officer brought in from Belfast specifically to investigate the missing weapons. Campbell represents both law enforcement and, more subtly, political power, since we learn he has been sent under direct instruction connected to figures in government concerned about the guns reaching Irish paramilitary groups. Campbell's presence signals that this is not an ordinary local police matter. He is methodical, morally self-righteous, and deeply contemptuous of the corruption he immediately senses runs through the local police force, some of whom the Shelbys have already bribed. Campbell's introduction in this episode is brief but pointed, establishing him as the season's central antagonist figure representing the law. In contrast to the criminal power represented by the Shelbys, the Shelby family's local pub, the Garrison, is one of the episode's key locations. Here we meet Grace Burgess, a new Irish barmaid who has just started working there. She is calm, observant, and unusually composed for someone new to such a dangerous environment. Thomas quickly notices her, and there is an immediate, understated tension and attraction between them, what the other characters don't know, but the audience is gradually shown or led to suspect, is that Grace is not simply a barmaid. She has connections to intelligence work and has been placed in the pub to gather information. Connected to the same investigation, Campbell has been sent to lead. Her singing in the pub becomes one of the episode's quietest but most memorable moments, a scene that shows her charisma and hints at hidden depths beneath her calm exterior. Alongside the guns and the investigation, the episode shows the Shelbys running their everyday criminal operations, including a scheme to fix a horse race using inside information, a callback to the family's roots as Romani horse traders. This section of the episode grounds the family in their practical criminal world, showing how they generate income and maintain their reputation through cunning rather than brute force alone. We also see friction between Arthur and Thomas over leadership. Arthur resents that Thomas quietly makes major decisions without consulting him, while still expecting Arthur to enforce them physically. This sibling tension is an important undercurrent that will grow across the series, as Arthur struggles with his sense of purpose and his volatile temperament. As the episode moves toward its conclusion, Thomas is forced to reckon with the danger of what he now possesses. Keeping the stolen weapons could mean enormous profit and leverage, either by selling them or by using them to bargain with powerful figures. But it also means drawing the attention of increasingly serious law enforcement and government interest, embodied by Campbell's arrival. Thomas is shown carefully weighing greed and ambition against the very real danger of exposure, a moral and strategic tightrope that defines his character throughout the series. Meanwhile, Campbell begins his investigation in earnest, starting to question local officers and residents, including subtly circling closer to the Shelby family without yet having concrete proof. The episode closes without fully resolving the gun mystery, deliberately leaving both Thomas's plan for the weapons and Campbell's investigation unresolved. What is clear by the final scenes is that the stage has been set. Thomas Shelby now holds something of national significance. A corrupt but ambitious police inspector is closing in, and a mysterious new woman has entered his orbit whose true purpose remains hidden. The final moments emphasize mood and atmosphere over a plot resolution, closing on the image of the Shelby family's world, poised on the edge of much larger events to come. Thomas Shelby, the show's central figure, a former army tunneler turned crime boss, intelligent, calculating, and emotionally guarded due to trauma from the war. His motivation throughout the series is advancement, both for himself and his family, using intelligence rather than raw violence as his primary weapon. Arthur Shelby, the eldest brother, nominal head of the gang, hot-tempered and driven by pride and a desire for respect. Often overshadowed by Thomas's sharper instincts, John Shelby, a dependable, family-loyal brother who serves as muscle and support within the gang's operations. Finn Shelby, the youngest Shelby brother, still a child in this season, eager to prove himself within the family's world. Ada Shelby, the Shelby sister, independent and rebellious, involved in a forbidden relationship with Freddie Thorne, symbolizing tension between family loyalty and personal freedom. Polly Great, the family's aunt and the financial and emotional backbone of the operation, carrying private grief and acting as a stabilizing, strategic force. Freddie Thorne, a communist activist and old friend of the Shelby brothers, romantically involved with Ada, representing the class and political tensions of the era. Grace Burgess, a new barmaid at the garrison with hidden ties to intelligence work, whose true motives are concealed in this episode, and who becomes entangled with Thomas. Inspector Chester Campbell, a rigid, morally self-assured police inspector sent from Belfast to investigate the stolen weapons, representing law and political authority, working against the SHELBYS. Billy Kimber referenced, not yet fully appeared, a powerful rival gang leader controlling the legitimate racetrack circuits, whose looming conflict with the Shelbys is set up for future episodes. Asterisk. The most significant twist of the episode is quiet rather than explosive. The revelation that Thomas Shelby has unknowingly come into possession of government-linked stolen weapons, placing his family directly in the path of a national security investigation rather than an ordinary police matter. The second subtle twist lies in Grace's introduction, since the episode plants clues suggesting she is not simply an innocent barmaid, without fully confirming her true role. A mystery the series unpacks gradually. Asterisk. The episode ends on unresolved tension by design. Thomas has the guns, but hasn't decided what to do with them. Campbell has arrived, but hasn't yet identified his targets with certainty. Grace has entered the Shelby world, but her true intentions remain concealed. This structure is intentional, since Peaky Blinders, as a series, is built on slow-burning tension rather than immediate resolution. The ending signals that the true story is only just beginning, with the weapons plot functioning as the connective thread that will drive the rest of Season 1's narrative, drawing together crime, politics, and personal relationships. Asterisk. Hidden details. The horse that carries the stolen weapons is a meaningful symbol, tying back to the Shelby family's Romani heritage as horse traders and foreshadowing how their old world skills intersect with a modern criminal underworld. The title Peaky Blinders itself refers to a real historical nickname associated with Birmingham street gangs from the late 1800s and early 1900s, though the show's specific version of the gang and its members are fictional creations by Stephen Knight. The BSA factory referenced in the stolen weapons plot is based on a real historical Birmingham arms manufacturer, grounding the show's fictional plot in a real industrial location. Asterisk. These are interpretations supported by general historical context around the show. Specific symbolic intent by the writers beyond this is not confidently confirmed, and should be treated as informed interpretation rather than confirmed fact. Asterisk. This episode functions as the foundation for Season 1's central storyline. The stolen weapons plot becomes the engine driving Thomas's escalating conflict with Inspector Campbell across the remaining episodes. Grace's true identity and mission are gradually revealed in subsequent episodes, deepening her relationship with Thomas. The tension introduced between Ada and her brothers over Freddie Thorne also expands into a major subplot later in the season. Additionally, the setup of the family's ambitions toward the legal racing world plants the seed for the coming rivalry with Billy Kimber, which becomes central later in Season 1. Asterisk. Peaky Blinders was praised upon release for its stylized visual approach, including its now famous use of modern rock and alternative music layered over a period setting, a stylistic choice that became one of the show's signatures from this very first episode. The series also helped bring international attention to Birmingham as a filming location and setting for period drama, a city not traditionally associated with major television productions before this show's success. Cillian Murphy's performance Thomas Shelby in this pilot episode set the tone for what would become one of British television's most iconic character portrayals. Asterisk. Episode 1 of Peaky Blinders is a masterclass in slow, confident storytelling. Rather than rushing toward action, it takes its time building atmosphere, introducing a richly drawn family, and planting narrative seeds that pay off across an entire series. It's a pilot that trusts its audience, rewarding patience with one of the most memorable crime family sagas in modern television. If you enjoyed this breakdown, let us know in the comments what stood out most to you, your favorite character, your theories about where the story goes next, or a moment from this episode that stuck with you. Don't forget to like this video and share it with fellow fans of great television storytelling. And if you want more deep dives, ending explanations, and full episode breakdowns of web series, TV shows, and movies, subscribe to Screen Central and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload.